This is going to be a video about my rescore for this Rykard cutscene from Elden Ring. The giant snake pulls the sword, blasphemous blade, all the cool stuff. I wanted to go through this first and just kind of like talk about what the big moments are, what I'm shooting for, or what I was hoping to do with this. Just listening to the cutscene as it is normally in the game, so it's without any music, really just sound effects here. And then I'm going to go through it with my rescore that I did. I did this string quintet version, which was a very specific kind of goal that I wanted to have for this cutscene for a couple of reasons. So here is the beginning. Get kind of a quiet opening here. We just get this limp snake head going on, and then the face. I'm never really sure about this face. I don't know that I love it or not, but it's something, that's for sure. That's beautiful right there. This is where I feel like we want to have this be like a moment where it's big. We actually see our character. We see Rykard in this threatening 1,000 hands kind of gross fire thing going on. But up until kind of here, this all feels like a dress setting, build up, kind of these smaller shots to sort of get you established with what's going on here. And then here he's about to start talking a little bit. Up until this point, my idea is to just have this be this slow ramp up to kind of fit with what's already there.
Very well.
Okay, and now he's getting his sword. I love that he pulls this blade out of the mouth of the snake or himself or whatever it is here. This is when I feel like we realize it's going down now. We got the bodies falling into the lava, burning up. And then he's brandishing this sword.
Join myself and King as remedy. Together we will.
Here, one of the cool things about these cutscenes is there's so much space and build up and just like visuals that lend themselves to adding a lot of music. And then there's a few of these spots where it's some dialogue, so there's a natural sort of point to bring the music down to give the dialogue a little bit of space to breathe and to just have a little bit of variation here. I really wanted the music to come down there, I remember.
Together we will devour the very core.
And then that's the end. He just kind of leaves you with that threatening bit at the end there. And so we have this lull that I wanted to do for his dialogue for most of it, a couple lines or whatever. And then we will devour the very gods back up to like full climax here. And then the battle's about to start. So that's kind of the trajectory that I was looking for with this, because we've got slow build up, tension, dress setting, and then sword comes out, intensity rises, a little bit of dialogue, and then a final climax, I think. So here I've got my kind of basic picture, and my concept that I wanted to do for this one was this sort of fugue-like string quintet. I just thought it would be appropriate and cool for this kind of boss, this feeling, this a little bit intimate, being it's just single string quintet, not a full orchestra. But I think it had an opportunity for like a intimate but dark, menacing quality to it. So I want to show you what this is like with the track. I was covering it all up. Why? I don't know. It's a surprise, I guess. It's a secret. What's under there? You'll never know. Now you know. Okay, so I'm going to unsolo this and then make it so you can actually see what's going on here. So here we have bass, cello, viola, violins up here. And the beginning with that dress setting sort of intro, the idea here was to have each of the strings get introduced one by one in sort of like a fugue style, but here I'm starting from the bass and then moving up through all the other instruments. And I actually do this again, kind of at the halfway point where you can see this little break here. But here we're just starting with this kind of verse menacing, setting the tone, setting up what the instruments are and the atmosphere of what's going on. So let's listen to that. That bass. The cello coming in with a very similar theme. And the viola, same idea, and it develops a little bit. The violin two's coming in. So each of those strings come in with pretty much the same idea for the melody here. Yeah, the bass, we got this really just almost scalar down thing. And then the cellos have those two little pickup notes and then this downward scale thing. Dum ba da bum. And then the violas, same idea. Little pickup notes, and then this goes up in the violas this time, and then the violin goes back to pretty much what the beginning original idea was. But here they kind of all build on top of each other, starting with the bass until we get this full picture of all of the instruments, except for the violin one. It doesn't come in until the end here. Let's take a listen.
Very well.
And I thought this was a really fun opportunity here. So I really love as Rykard is pulling the blasphemous blade out of the snake's mouth, his mouth. I don't know what to consider it, but that's when I introduce this other main fugue theme that I have here. But it's in all the low strings playing this thing. I'll play it one more time. Just those four notes in this kind of menacing melody, this kind of like really dissonant, weird thing. And I really was looking forward to saying like, okay, how can I just manipulate that and mess with it and really just tear it apart and break it into all these little fugue pieces in a normal fugue way, but in this very dissonant, menacing kind of way for this big part when Rykard is like actually getting into the tension part of this cutscene. So we have the introduction of that fugue theme. Tiny pause for tension. Then bass, cello, viola, violin. We're building on top of each other, each one introducing their own version of that fugue theme. And then we get this kind of back and forth throwing that theme in other variations and iterations around through each of those instruments. So here we go. I'm going to start it from when the bass is playing that fugue theme, just so we can hear it without me talking over it. Together. Lull here. Cellos. Just playing this rising line. And then here, okay, so we have that part that I mentioned earlier where I wanted it to dip down in intensity a little bit to make some room for his dialogue. We pretty much just go to cello here, playing this rising octatonic line, I think it is. Is that what's going on here? Let me look. Yeah, it's really just this rising octatonic diminished phrase that's going through the cellos. It's been a little while. I forgot exactly what happened. I remembered correctly. Thank you very much. And then we have a little bit of the high strings and everybody else enters after, or as that octatonic cello phrase is still continuing right here. After we get the other strings getting introduced, we get the full blast. And that is that same fugue theme that got introduced at that halfway point. But here we get all the strings digging in pretty much as hard as they can, playing it instead of just one time each for this very quick version. It's this 4/16 notes, da 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 da, for each of them with this kind of dramatic, heavy pause. And I wanted this whole last part to be this like heavy dissonance for this threatening end of the battle here. And then I actually really enjoyed this very last note. Just a unison, which is kind of weird, I feel like, to have this kind of full part with all of these harmonies and at least like full, dense, thick chords. And then the very last note, just one unison, is this kind of alarming resolution in a weird way, but it's also on this dissonant note. So I really just enjoyed the way it kind of left you hanging, but had a finality to it. Right before that, we get this little bit of build up playing. It's pretty much that same fugue theme harmonized, but basically we get it in 2/16 notes at a time repeated for this measure, or this part, and then 4/16 notes with that kind of bass and cellos playing the bass note in between. So we get kind of this lengthening, this heaviness, this sludgening. That's a thing. We get this lengthening and this expansion of the main fugue theme by just kind of repeating the notes one more time, or by having a little bit of rest or space in like the cellos and basses here. So I'm going to play this part so we can hear the 2-note version and then the 4/16 note version. So that is my Rykard rescore that I did. I enjoyed doing this one. I really love having some sort of limitation to give myself or to work with when I'm doing something like this. I think that too often, if you just have everything available and you can use any instrument you want, you can use any key you want, you can use any tonality, any style, it can be paralyzing in a way. And to at least make a decision, right? That, okay, I want to have this be a string quintet, or I want to have this be a fugue style, or whatever the limitation you want is. I find that can be very freeing in a way, that it allows you to say, oh, this is just what I have to work with, and I'm going to make something that is cool, but it fits in this particular form, and go from there. And obviously, if something comes up and you need to break your rules, that's kind of fun too. But the cool thing about rules is that they're pretty much there, and then you get to break them. There's a tension to that. There's something fun. Yeah, I think I'm gonna continue doing a couple of these breakdowns for some of my other Souls Rescored videos that I've done. I've done pretty much all the Elden Ring bosses at this point. Not quite all of them, but I've done a lot of them. I might continue to do some more. I've got some other projects I'm working on, but it's kind of fun to just open these up. This is something I haven't opened up in a while. It's like over a year ago, I think I did this. So a lot of this has changed. My workflow has changed a little bit, but it's refreshing to hear something a little while later, because when you're in the middle of it, you listen to it like 1,000 times and you get a little bit sick of hearing it. That's probably not a fun thing to advertise, but with anything, you're exposed to it a lot and you're excited to move on to the next thing, let's say. But it's nice to be able to come back after some amount of time and be pleasantly surprised at some of the things that I enjoy, and then some things I'd probably tweak if I worked on this a little bit more. But that's it for now. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next one.